What's going on, Capstone? Today we'll be talking about the biggest mixed martial arts event of the year, UFC 300. So for non-mixed martial arts fans, MMA promotions don't really have seasons like football or soccer, rather they're year-round. So our big events are marked by the number of fights or cards that are done per year. And luckily for us this year, we've reached the grand number of 300, which means the UFC is putting together an incredible fight card for fans to watch. So I'm just going to go through the lineup of the card and break down my picks of who is going to win, and just some general information about mixed martial arts. So let's start with the preliminaries. Just to show you how stacked this card is for fight fans who are watching, the first fight on this card is Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Now, both of these guys are former UFC champions. That should just show you how skilled they are. However, there's a lot of nuance that goes into breaking down this fight. So first, Figueiredo was the strawweight champion. He moved up a weight class and beat Rob Font to a unanimous decision, showing that he's skilled enough to move up an extra 15 pounds and still fight comfortably. Cody, on the other hand, was the bantamweight champion. Granted, only for a short period of time. He never really defended his belt. But if Cody shows up to this fight, he should get the W, I think. It's hard to say because Cody's gone through quite a losing streak. After he obtained the title, for some reason, he just never really fought the same. But if I had to put my money on someone, it's Cody, for the previously mentioned fact that Figueiredo has moved up a weight class, and I don't think he can tangle with these bigger guys too well. Also, I believe if Cody does show up, his striking is superior to Deiveson's, so we'll just have to see on that. On to the next fight. Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. Now, this is a fight that I can't wait for personally. Jim Miller is a veteran of the sport, and what I mean by that is Jim Miller has fought on not only UFC 100, 200, but now 300. He's been in the sport for over a decade now. He's a killer, and despite his age, he's racked up an impressive win streak. Now, Bobby Green's no slouch either. He's quite a bit younger and has been on a pretty good spree, minus his last bout where he got knocked out brutally. So I think that plays a big factor into this fight. I'm going to give it to Jim Miller. I can see it going either way. This is a tough fight. But Jim still has momentum because he's on a 3-fight win streak. Meanwhile, Bobby just got brutally knocked out. And overall, I think Jim has the advantage in the grappling department, and he's good enough at striking to be able to stay on the feet a little bit with Bobby. I feel like if he stands striking the entire time with Bobby, he's going to lose. But if Jim mixes in his wrestling and his striking, plus that momentum he's had of the 3-fight win streak, I feel like he can edge the W. Cool fight. Definitely a legacy one for him. And who knows, if he wins this, he might be on the road to the title, which is insane at the age of 42. Then we have Jalen Turner versus Riento Moicano. Now, I think this fight's a slaughter. It's in the lightweight division. Sorry, I haven't been really marking the divisions all too much. I didn't really say what division Jim Miller and Bobby Green are in. They're lightweight as well, but Jalen Turner and Moicano. Jalen Turner's an animal. He's a straight killer. He's younger. He's more experienced. He's longer. He's a better striker. I think a better grappler. I think he's going to kill Moicano. Moicano's a lot more entertaining. I love listening to his clips and podcasts, but when it comes to fighting, Jalen's got him beat. Moving up to the secondary. Moving up to the main card. This is where we get some more in-depth explanations from me. I'm a little more knowledgeable on these guys because there's a lot of new contenders in this card. But I feel very strongly about a lot of these fights. So let's start with Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. This is in the featherweight division. So Calvin Kattar is an incredible boxer. He's got a lot of power and a durable chin. However, as of late, he's fallen short a lot of times. His last fight was unlucky. He suffered a leg injury that was a freak accident. So that's a big thing to pay attention to in this fight. Another thing is ever since he fought Max Holloway, who is the number one contender at featherweight, he's never really been the same. He's gone down quite a big losing streak. However, Calvin is no joke and not to be underestimated. Now, the former bantamweight champion is who he's facing, Aljamain Sterling. Yet again, another fighter who's moving up a weight class. Aljamain is a hardcore wrestler, which I think is a bad matchup for Kattar, not only because he has that bad leg injury, which stops him from defending these takedowns, but he's a striker. When a striker gets grabbed a hold of, some of them just don't know what to do. Calvin, is not by any means bad at grappling. I just feel like Aljamain is such a prolific grappler that if Aljamain can employ his tactic of just staying on him and dragging him to the ground, he's going to tire Kattar and ultimately submit him. But it just depends. This is Aljamain's first move up to featherweight. We'll have to see how strong he is. Can he tussle with the guy who's heavier than him? It just depends. Now, for my second favorite fight on this entire card, Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. This is a light heavyweight bout. Yuri, yet again another former champion, just to show you how crazy this UFC 300 card is. Practically everyone who's involved on it is a former champion or is a champion. Now, Yuri Prochazka lost via knockout to Alex Pereira in his last match. But it wasn't a hard knockout. He was still conscious. It was, a TKO, technical knockout. So the ref just stopped it. Good for him. But, I think Yuri has this in the bag. Rakic is a decent fighter, but I feel like he's inexperienced. He hasn't fought since mid-2020, so it's been over a year since he's in the ring. So ring rust is a big factor in this fight. And overall, I just think Yuri can do everything Rakic can, but better. He's a better striker. He has more cardio. He's way more durable. His grappling's better. And plus, Yuri's crazy. There's no other fighter on the roster like him. He lives in the woods and pretends to be a samurai. So that's another X factor to keep in mind. This is a rebound fight for Yuri, and I think he'll nail it perfectly and get back up to climbing the ranks and get another title shot and hopefully win the belt again. He's one of my favorites. Next on the card, Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Okay, so this is a middleweight bout. Bo Nickel is the biggest prospect in the UFC to date right now. He's on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC. He is one of the highest level wrestlers we've ever seen in not only the division, but as I said, the UFC. There's just so much praise for him. He was a Division I wrestler in college. He's extremely talented. What we've seen from his grappling performances is utterly insane. It's some of, if not the highest ranked wrestling combat we've ever seen. But in his last fight, he highlighted his striking and just how well he can time his shots. Now, Cody Brundage, a veteran, But I'm not even really a veteran. Let me redact that statement. Cody, he's had his few fights. He's got his experience, and he's by no means a slouch of a fighter. But when it comes to a prospect like Bo Nickel, there's not much of a chance for him here. Bo is excelling in every aspect of mixed martial arts. Meanwhile, Cody has been struggling to climb the ranks for 4 years now. The craziest thing about this fight to me is that it's on the main card. This fight takes priority over former champions bouts. Meanwhile, these two aren't even ranked contenders. They're just plopped on here sheerly because Bo Nickel is such a upcoming prospect. So he better perform. I personally don't like the way the UFC is marketing Bo Nickel. I feel like he's being rushed, and he shouldn't deserve these pay-per-view spots on the card. But good for him, I guess. Success, and shows how popular he is. He's got a stable fan base. Bo Nickel, I think, destroys Cody Brundage. Now, the next fight's incredible. Former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. So, Oliveira lost his title to Islam Makhachev in the second round. It was a very convincing performance. However, he swung back and knocked out... what's his name? Sorry, I'm blanking here. He swung back and knocked out Beneil Dariush. Beneil hasn't shown, any good displays after the Charles fight, as Charles' opponent in this current fight just knocked out Beneil in incredible fashion in the first round by flying knee. Arman Tsarukyan, that's this guy. But it's just to show that Charles has momentum and Arman has momentum, so that doesn't play a factor into this. Now, what I'll say is Charles is older. But his age is a big factor. Tsarukyan is way younger. He's hungrier. I feel like Charles can get this done, but it's risky. Age is a big factor, as I said. It depends. I feel like Charles is grappling more in specific. His jiu-jitsu is going to be a big factor in this. If he can somehow get Tsarukyan to the ground is necessary. Because though Charles has shown he's an incredible striker, I don't think he has the speed to match Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan, as I said, is younger, so therefore faster. We'll just have to see. If I was a betting man, I'd pick Arman, but I really want Charles to win because he's such an incredible fighter. He's a veteran beyond all means. He's been in the sport since he's, 22 years old. He's 37 now, so over a decade of experience and great fights he's given to the fans. He's also a fan favorite. We'll just have to see. He does have that killer mentality. He'll keep going forward until he finishes the opponent or his opponent finishes him, and Tsarukyan has the tools to finish him. I'm not saying he will, but I don't think this fight's going to a decision. I feel like someone's going to get knocked out or submitted. We'll just have to see. Now, the next fight is my favorite fight on this entire card. It has two of my favorite fighters, including my favorite of all time, Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF belt. Baddest mother blank belt. But this is kind of like a gimmicky belt that was added from like a collab with The Rock in 2019. But regardless, these two fighters are killers. So let's go over Justin Gaethje before we get Max Holloway. Justin Gaethje, oh, I forgot. This is also the lightweight division. Justin Gaethje is the hardest hitter the lightweight division has ever seen. This has been stated numerous times. When he fights people and he's done pummeling them, they're never the same. He beat a champion, or interim champion, I should say, Tony Ferguson, to a stoppage, and after that, Tony went on a 6-fight losing streak. When he connects with people for a prolonged period of time, they are never the same. He does abysmal amounts of permanent damage to an opponent. His striking is legendary. He was a D1 collegiate wrestler. He doesn't like to grapple, but if he is in a grappling exchange, he's completely comfortable. He's massive for the division as well. Now, despite all of this, he is getting on the older side. I believe he's 35, 36. So that plays a factor, as I said. The prime of an MMA fighter is around 29 to 33, and they start to decline around 34, and at 35, they're considered ancient. But some fighters, longevity isn't really an issue. I don't know how they manage that. Now, Gaethje's keys to victory here is usually in every one of his fights. It's straightforward. Endure punishment and dish out more punishment than his opponent can handle. Hit him twice as hard as they hit you, basically. Now, Max Holloway, on the other hand, is moving up from featherweight. He is the former featherweight champion. An incredible striker. He holds the record for the most punches thrown in a singular fight by a landslide. I think he landed 1,200 punches on some guy's face. Holloway is as skilled as Gaethje, if not more skilled. He lacks the physical gifts Gaethje has, the power, the size. But what he does have is a chin. Now, Gaethje is known to break chins, but I don't think he's ever seen anyone as durable as Max Holloway. On top of Max's durability, he is by far one of the greatest strikers the UFC's ever seen in boxing. I don't think this fight's really going to go to the ground. I feel like they're going to stand in the middle of the octagon and they're just going to trade shots until one of them can't take them anymore, which makes me very scared for both of these fighters because they're both such beloved figures in our sport. But there's going to be someone finished in this fight. There's just no way it's not going to happen. Max's path to victory is a lot harder than Gaethje. As I said, Max lacks power. His hands hit like pillows, but what he does have is incredible cardio and his volume. The amount of strikes he can land, as I said. If he can go out there and put the pressure and put the pace on Gaethje and dodge those life-altering strikes Gaethje has, he can crumble him. And Max, also, by the way, both of these guys are veterans in the sport. However, Max has been in the sport since a young age, like his 20s. He is just now turning 32, which most people arguably say is the peak or prime of a fighter. So we never know who could show up in this fight. We could see a new prime Max Holloway that completely outclasses Gaethje in every acclimate. But we'll just have to see. I mean, the move up to 155 for Max is scary, 155 being lightweight. But I've seen a lot of videos on his routine to gain that weight, and he looks built. He's solid. He's gained on the muscle naturally. He's looking big. He looks like a true lightweight now. But even then, Gaethje looks like he belongs in a division above lightweight. That's how big Gaethje is. It's a hard fight. Both have equal... I wouldn't say that. Both have Both have one path to victory, and that is putting the other opponent down. They achieve this by different means entirely. One by an exorbitant amount of strikes. That's how Max Holloway can put out Gaethje. Just land a couple thousand strikes on his head, which would be insane. What I'm hoping for, I love Max. I love Gaethje, but Max is my guy. And Gaethje, just connect those big, powerful shots that he generates onto Max, which I think is probably the most opportune way, but I'm going to have to give it to Max, because every time Max has been an underdog, he showed up, and he's proven why he's one of the best this sport's ever seen. Now, the main event on this card, Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. This is an incredible fight. This is at the light heavyweight division. So, Alex, the light heavyweight champion of the world, versus Jamal, the former. Now, they never fought, Jamal suffered an injury and relinquished the belt so other people could have the opportunity to become champion, which is very incredible of him. Now, something about... Let me go over Alex first and his achievements. Alex has had 7 fights in the UFC so far, and out of those 7 fights, he has managed to win 2 championship belts in 2 different divisions, middleweight and light heavyweight. And out of those 7 fights, 4 of those opponents were former champions. He has finished nigh but all of them. The only one he didn't finish was Jan Blachowicz. Now, when I tell you this is unheard of in our sport, for someone to excel and climb the ranks this quickly and proficiently and establish himself as a double champion. He knocked out Yuri Prohaska. That, in of itself, is a feat. He knocked out Israel Adesanya, arguably the greatest middleweight of all time. He's a killer. He is not to be trifled with. When we talk about power, his is unrivaled in this division. He has what I like to call the touch of death. If his hands connect with you, your lights get shut off. Now, for all this said, he comes from a kickboxing background, specifically K1. So his grappling and wrestling are awful. He's got good takedown defense to an extent, but he can be held and dominated on the ground. Luckily for him, he's fighting Jamal Hill, another striker. Though Jamal has wrestling, Jamal has made it evident from posts on Twitter that he has no intentions of taking this fight to the ground. He wants to stand and prove that he's a better striker. Jamal claims that he's going to completely outclass Pereira and that he's going to fraud check him, basically show that he's not this boogeyman that everyone thinks he is. Now, if I had to put my money on a fighter to win this fight, I'm going to give it to Jamal. Jamal is younger. Pereira is 37. That's even in light heavyweight, you get a benefit because the higher you go up in weight classes, the longer your longevity is. But Jamal Hill is younger. I think he's faster. I think he's crisper. And I just feel like, I know that he's going to find a way to land in a 1-2 shot that's going to put Pereira out. Pereira has been knocked out before in his second bout with Israel Adesanya, and I feel like Jamal Hill is far more capable at delivering the type of blows to knock Pereira out. A lot of people are picking Pereira for this, but they're not seeing the age. And also, Jamal is longer. He's got a lot of physical attributes people are overlooking, and when it comes to striking, Jamal is one of the best strikers we've ever seen in the light heavyweight division from his fights. He's a destroyer. It's incredible. So that's Jamal. So that's the whole card. I might have overlooked a few things, but I think that's pretty good. Thanks for tuning in, Capstone.